They tore my heart out and threw it into the Halifax wind. My own daughter, my blood, and her vile husband betrayed me, shoving me into a veterans' care home like garbage, plotting to steal the home I built with 40 years of sacrifice. They mocked my Bosnia medals, trashed my late wife's garden, and sold my life's work for pennies, thinking I'm a broken old man they could crush. The pain cuts deeper than any bullet I took in war. My soul shattered as they defiled everything I fought for. They thought they'd bury me in silence, but they're wrong. I've faced death, betrayal, and worse, and I'm still here burning with rage. And I swear they'll pay dearly for this treachery. Watch their world burn with me. Subscribe now and stand with a Canadian veteran for justice. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know in the comments where you're tuning in from, whether it's somewhere beautiful in Canada or anywhere else in this amazing world. My name's William McDonald, a 72-year-old Navy vet who stared down danger in Bosnia, 1990. My Dartmouth home, perched on Halifax's rugged coast, is my anchor, its cedar walls warmed by memories of my wife, Margaret, who passed 10 years ago. For 40 years, I slaved at Halifax shipyards, hauled night shifts at gas stations, and drove 100-kilometer reroutes delivering freight, all to give my daughter, Emily, a future. I sold my father's watch, a relic from his own Navy days, to fund her Dalhousie degree. Every scar on my hands was for her, but on Valentine's Day, my heart broke. Emily and her husband, Nathan Fraser, sat at my table, the air thick with the scent of my cod chowder, Margaret's old recipe. Emily's words hit like shrapnel. "Dad, it's time for Harbour View Veterans Home. They'll look after you." Look after me? My grip tightened on my chair. I'm not some useless wreck. This is my home. Nathan's eyes glinted, sizing up my property. "Bill, you're not safe alone anymore. It's best for everyone. Best for their bank account," he meant. "You're throwing me out for my own house?" I roared, voice cracking. Emily looked away, her silence colder than a Nova Scotia blizzard. Nathan leaned forward, smug. "The paperwork's done, Bill. You're going." The bay outside howled, echoing my rage, as my daughter's betrayal carved a wound deeper than war. The morning after Valentine's Day, my Dartmouth home felt like a graveyard. I, William McDonald, stood at my kitchen window, staring at the Halifax Bay, its gray waves crashing like my breaking heart. I'd barely slept, haunted by Emily's cold words and Nathan's smug grin. At 8 a.m., a moving truck roared into my driveway, its tires crunching the gravel where Margaret once planted her roses. My chest tightened. This wasn't just a house, it was 40 years of love, sweat, and sacrifice. Two men in Harbour View Veterans Home uniforms stormed in, their boots stomping across the cedar floors I'd polished for decades. Emily trailed behind, her eyes fixed on the ground. Nathan, clipboard in hand, barked orders like a drill sergeant. "Start with the living room," he said. "We need this done fast." I clutched the counter, my voice shaking. "You can't take my home. This is where Emily learned to walk." One mover grabbed Margaret's wedding photo from the mantel, her smile frozen in 1975. He tossed it into a cardboard box like it was junk. "Stop!" I roared, lunging forward. "That's my wife!" Emily flinched but said nothing, her silence slicing deeper than any knife. Nathan stepped in, his voice ice cold. "Bill, it's over. The paperwork's filed. Harbour View's your new home." I turned to Emily, pleading. "You're my daughter. How can you do this?" Her lips trembled, but she looked away, letting Nathan's hand on her shoulder guide her silence. The movers tore through my life. My Bosnia medal, earned through blood and fear in 1990, was thrown into a box labeled miscellaneous. My toolbox, worn from years at the Halifax shipyards, vanished into bubble wrap. Margaret's garden shears, still flecked with dirt from her rose beds, were stuffed into a sack. Each item ripped a piece of my soul. I remember teaching Emily to ride her bike on the front lawn 35 years ago, her laughter echoing across the bay. Now, that lawn would belong to strangers. "You're stealing everything I am," I shouted, my voice breaking. Nathan smirked. "You're 72, Bill. You don't need this stuff anymore." His words burned, hotter than any wound from war. They packed my life in under an hour. Efficient as a military raid, the movers hauled boxes to the truck, 10 meters from my front door to their cargo hold. I stood frozen, watching my history vanish. Emily finally spoke, her voice barely a whisper. "Dad, it's just temporary. We'll sort out your finances." "Finances?" I laughed, bitter and hollow. "You mean your debts, Emily? What's Nathan owe this time?" Her face paled, but Nathan cut in. "Enough, old man. Get in the car." He opened the door of his sleek SUV, parked where I used to wash my old fishing boat. I refused to move, my hands shaking with rage. "This is my home," I yelled. The movers grabbed my arms, their grip firm but not cruel, and half dragged me to the vehicle. Inside Nathan's SUV, the child safety locks clicked shut, trapping me like a prisoner. Through the window, I saw my house shrink, its cedar walls glowing in the morning light. I pictured Margaret in her garden, humming as she pruned her roses. I saw Emily, 5 years old, chasing seagulls on our lawn. Those memories were all I had left, and now they were being stolen too. Nathan drove, his eyes fixed ahead, while Emily sat silent in the passenger seat. "You sold your own father for a quick buck," I said, my voice low, trembling with pain. Margaret would be ashamed. Emily's shoulders shook, but she didn't turn. The Halifax Bay stretched beside us, its waves roaring my unspoken fury. My home, my life, my daughter all gone. But deep inside, a spark of defiance flickered. They thought they'd broken me. They were wrong. The doors of Harbour View Veterans' Home slammed shut behind me, locking out the Halifax Bay's salty breeze. I, William MacDonald, stood in a sterile hallway, the stench of disinfectant choking the air. This wasn't a home, it was a prison dressed in red brick, with a shiny sign promising compassionate care for Canada's heroes. At 72, after surviving Bosnia's battlefields, I felt like a stranger in my own life. My suitcase, stuffed with a few clothes and Margaret's wedding photo, sat heavy in my hand. The photo's frame was scratched from the mover's carelessness yesterday. My heart ached, picturing my Dartmouth house, its cedar walls, Margaret's rose garden now in Nathan's greedy claws. A young staff member, Lucas Bennett, greeted me with a plastic smile. "Mr. MacDonald, welcome. I'm Lucas, your care coordinator. Room 112's ready." His voice dripped with false warmth, like maple syrup gone sour. Room 112 was a beige box, 3 meters by 4, with a narrow bed and a window facing a parking lot. My toolbox, worn from Halifax shipyard days, sat useless in the corner. Margaret's photo looked wrong on the plastic nightstand, her smile lost in this lifeless place. I sank onto the bed, the mattress creaking under my weight. "This isn't home," I muttered, my voice hoarse. Lucas hovered at the door. "You'll love it here, Bill. We've got bingo Tuesdays, movie nights Fridays, and the best medical staff in Nova Scotia." I glared at him. "I don't need bingo. I need my house." He shrugged, checking his watch. "Dinner's at 6 p.m. Rules are simple. Meds at 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Visiting hours end at 9. Any questions?" I stared at the floor. "When can I leave?" Lucas's smile tightened. That's up to your family, Bill. He left, the door clicking shut like a jail cell. Alone, I clutched Margaret's photo, her face a reminder of the life stolen from me. Emily's betrayal burned deeper than ever, her silence in the car, Nathan's smug, "It's done." I'd given her everything, 40 years of 16-hour days, $50,000 for her Dalhousie degree, my father's Navy watch sold for her dreams. Now, I was discarded, my home 5 kilometers away, soon to be sold. The pain was a weight I couldn't shake, heavier than any rucksack I'd carried in Bosnia. But then, voices drifted from the common room, sharp and alive, cutting through the haze of game shows blaring on the television. I shuffled down the hall, my boots heavy on the linoleum. Near a window, 3 people sat, their eyes bright with defiance, not dulled like the others dozing in wheelchairs. A woman with silver hair, pinned tight, spoke first. "You don't look like you belong here, friend." Her name tag read Eleanor Campbell, 68, a former Army nurse with a gaze sharp as a scalpel. I sat, wary but curious. Depends what you mean by belong. A man with grease, stained fingernails snorted. None of us signed up for this cage. George Tremblay, 70, a retired aircraft engineer, had a voice rough as Halifax gravel. The third, Thomas Reed, 75, a former military lawyer, studied me like I was evidence in a trial. "I'm Bill McDonald," I said, my voice low. "My daughter and her husband forced me here to steal my house." Eleanor leaned forward, her eyes narrowing. "Same story here. My son sold my farm in Annapolis Valley for half its worth. Said it was for my safety." George grunted. "My daughter flogged my hanger in Dartmouth for pennies the day I got here. Built that business for 30 years. Tom's voice was calm but steely. "It's a pattern, Bill. Lucas Bennett's in on it, greasing the wheels for families to liquidate our assets. For a fee, of course." My pulse quickened. "You're saying this place is a scam?" Tom nodded. "I've seen it in 50 years of law. They fake medical reports, push power of attorney, and sell what's ours. 62 veterans, Bill, stripped of their lives." Eleanor's hand gripped her chair. "We're not victims. We're witnesses." George cracked his knuckles. "And we're not done fighting." Their words lit a spark in me. The pain of Emily's betrayal still burned, but these strangers, comrades forged in shared loss, offered a lifeline. I looked at Margaret's photo in my mind, her strength urging me on. "I'm in," I said, my voice steady for the first time since Valentine's Day. "Whatever it takes." Eleanor smiled, fierce and unyielding. "Good, because we're going to burn this scheme to the ground." The Halifax wind rattled the window, as if cheering us on. 3 days in Harbour View Veterans' Home, and my blood still boiled. I, William MacDonald, wasn't ready to be caged. The sterile walls of this Halifax prison couldn't snuff out the fire Margaret's memory lit in me. Her photo, scratched but proud on my nightstand, urged me to fight. In the common room, under a faded Canadian flag, I sat with my new allies Eleanor Campbell, George Tremblay, and Thomas Reed. Their stories of betrayal mirrored mine, and their defiance woke something in me I hadn't felt since Bosnia. Tom, the old military lawyer, leaned forward, his voice sharp as a bayonet. "We've got a case, Bill. Fraud, elder abuse, conspiracy. But we need hard evidence." Eleanor's eyes gleamed. "Lucas Bennett's the key. He's profiting off our misery." George nodded, his engineer's hands restless. "I say we dig into his dealings. Find the paper trail." I clenched my fists, my Navy training kicking in. "I'll watch Lucas. I know how to move unseen." Tom laid out the plan like a battlefield map. "Bill, you tail Lucas. Listen for anything calls, meetings. Eleanor, track which families don't visit. George, Check the staff schedules for gaps we can use. We build a case they can't dismiss." Eleanor's voice was steel. "No mistakes, folks. They think we're just old relics." I nodded, my jaw tight. They're about to learn what veterans can do. That night, at 10 p.m., Harbour View's halls turned dark. The cheer drained away like a Nova Scotia tide. I slipped out of room 112, my boots soft on the linoleum, heart pounding like a war drum. Lucas's office was 20 meters down the hall, its door cracked open, light spilling out. I pressed against the wall, my old recon skills sharp despite 72 years. Voices drifted out Lucas's, smooth and oily, and a woman's chillingly familiar. "Emily," my breath caught, rage surging through me. I edged closer, 2 meters from the door, and pulled out my smartphone. Emily taught me to use it years ago, back when she still called me Dad. I hit record, my hand steady despite the storm in my chest. Lucas spoke low. "The paperwork's filed, Emily. Your dad's declared incompetent. The house can be listed for $400,000 CAD next week." Emily's voice was cold, unrecognizable. "Good. Nathan's debts are piling up $80,000 CAD to some loan shark. We need this fast." Lucas chuckled, a sound that made my skin crawl. "My cut's 15% plus $3,000 CAD to rush the medical report. Doctor, Fraser never even saw him." My heart sank, the betrayal cutting deeper than ever. Emily, my little girl who once danced in my Dartmouth yard, was trading my life for Nathan's gambling debts. I gripped the phone, my knuckles white. "What about Dad's neighbors?" Emily asked, a faint waver in her voice. "They know he's fine." Lucas laughed. "Doesn't matter. Once the forms are filed, no one listens to neighbors. The house is yours in 10 days. My blood turned to ice. They weren't just stealing my home, they were erasing me. I backed away, silent as a shadow, as Lucas's footsteps moved toward the door. In room 112, I replayed the recording, Emily's voice stabbing me anew. "Fast," she'd said, "for Nathan's debts." Margaret would have wept to see her daughter like this. But my pain hardened into resolve. I'd fought for my country, for my family. I'd fight for my life now. The next morning, I met Eleanor, George, and Tom by the common room window. "I've got it," I whispered, holding up my phone. "Lucas and Emily, planning to sell my house. They faked a medical report." Eleanor's eyes widened. "That's dynamite, Bill." Tom's lawyer mind kicked in. "Clear audio?" I nodded. "Crystal," recorded 2 meters from his office. George cracked his knuckles. "They're done for." Tom's voice was firm. "This is our smoking gun, but we need more. Keep watching, Bill. They'll slip again." I looked at Margaret's photo in my mind, her strength fueling me. Emily thought she'd buried me. She was wrong. This old veteran was just getting started, and Halifax's winds would carry their downfall. A week in Harbour View, veteran's home, and the Halifax wind outside couldn't cool the fire in my veins. I, William MacDonald, clutched the smartphone holding Emily's damning words, my Navy grit pushing back the pain of her betrayal. Margaret's photo on my nightstand, her smile steady as a lighthouse, kept me anchored. In the common room, under the worn Canadian flag, I met Eleanor Campbell, George Tremblay, and Thomas Reed, my allies in this fight. George, the 70-year-old engineer, had been digging. That morning, his eyes burned with discovery. "Bill, I cracked their system," he whispered, glancing at the staff desk 10 meters away. Harbour View's been fleecing 62 veterans' families for 5 years, raking in over $10 million CAD. Lucas Bennett's the linchpin, working with a Halifax real estate firm to sell our homes. My heart pounded, rage mixing with dread. 62 families? I hissed. How deep does this go? Tom, the 75-year-old lawyer, adjusted his glasses, his voice low but firm. It's systematic fraud, Bill. Fake medical reports, forced power of attorney, asset grabs. We've got your recording, but this ties Lucas to a network. Eleanor, the 68-year-old ex-nurse, clenched her fists. They're vultures, picking our bones clean. My Annapolis farm's gone. George's hangar, too. George nodded, his calloused hands tense. Found emails in their database. Lucas gets $5,000 CAD per deal to push paperwork through. I gripped my chair, picturing my Dartmouth home, its cedar walls now a prize in their scam. They're stealing our lives, I said, my voice shaking. We stop them. Now. Tom's eyes gleamed. We need more evidence, Bill. Keep shadowing Lucas. He's slippery, but he'll slip up. That night, the Institute felt like a battlefield, shadows stretching across the linoleum like tripwires. Lucas had been watching me, his fake smile gone since I'd lingered near his office last week. At 11 p.m., I crept 15 meters down the hall, my Bosnia recon skills guiding my steps. A flicker of light came from Lucas's office, his voice sharp on a phone call. The McDonald house is listed, but he's trouble, keeps wandering where he shouldn't. My blood froze. He was talking about me. I pressed closer, 1 meter from the door, my phone ready to record again. Lucas's tone hardened. If he digs too deep, we'll handle it. I've got someone who can make problems disappear for $2,000. CAD. My pulse raced. They weren't just after my house, they wanted me silenced. I slipped back to my room, heart hammering, but the Halifax night wasn't done with me. At midnight, I stepped into the Institute's courtyard for air, the chilly 5-degree air biting my face. The courtyard, 20 meters square, was dark, lit only by a flickering lamp. Footsteps crunched behind me, too heavy for a nurse. I turned, but a masked figure lunged from the shadows, shoving me hard. I hit the ground, my cane snapping under my weight, pain shooting through my knee. "Stay out of it, old man," a voice growled, low and menacing. Blood trickled from a cut on my hand, warm against the cold pavement. I scrambled up, my Navy instincts kicking in, but the figure vanished into the night. My breath came in ragged gasps, the Halifax wind howling like a warning. Back in room 112, I bandaged my hand, Margaret's photo staring back. "They think they can scare me, Margaret," I whispered. "They don't know who they're messing with." The pain in my knee throbbed, but my resolve burned hotter. The next morning, I limped to the common room, showing Eleanor, George, and Tom the broken cane. "Lucas knows I'm on to him," I said, voice steady despite the ache. Eleanor's eyes flashed. "They're scared, Bill. That means we're close." George's jaw tightened. "I'll dig deeper into their files. There's more dirt." Tom leaned forward, lawyer mode on. "This attack's evidence of their desperation. Keep your phone ready, Bill. We're building a case to bury them." I nodded, the spark of defiance now ablaze. Emily and Lucas thought they'd broken this old veteran. They were about to face a fight they'd never forget. The cut on my hand still stung, a reminder of the masked thug who tried to silence me in Harbour View's courtyard. But I, William MacDonald, wasn't broken. At 72, my Navy heart beat stronger than ever, fueled by Margaret's memory and the fire of my allies Eleanor Campbell, George Tremblay, and Thomas Reed. In the common room, 10 meters from the staff desk, we huddled under the Canadian flag, its red maple leaf a symbol of the fight ahead. My broken cane leaned against my chair, a badge of their fear. "They're scared," I said, holding up my phone with the recording of Lucas Bennett and Emily Fraser. "This proves they faked my medical report to steal my Dartmouth home." Eleanor's eyes blazed, her ex-nurse grit unyielding. That's a start, Bill, but George's fine changes everything. George, the 70-year-old engineer, leaned forward, his voice low. Their system shows 62 veterans robbed, $10 million CAD in assets gone. Lucas is the puppet master. Tom Reed, 75, the old military lawyer, tapped his pen like a gavel. Your recording and George's data are gold, Bill. Fraud, elder abuse, conspiracy. It's enough for criminal charges. But we need to lock this down. Eleanor's voice cut like a Halifax wind. We can't do this alone. We need a lawyer outside this snake pit. She pulled out a crumpled card from her pocket. Catherine LeBlanc, Halifax's best for veterans' rights. I met her at a Canadian Legion event. She'll fight for us. I nodded, my jaw tight. Then we call her. But there's something else. My heart raced, the weight of a secret I'd carried for months. Last year, I changed my will. Nathan kept sniffing around my house, asking about property values. I didn't trust him, so I left everything, my home, my savings, to the Canadian Legion. Emily gets nothing. The room went silent, the hum of the Institute's television fading. George's eyes widened. Nothing? That's a grenade, Bill. Eleanor's smile was fierce. They're stealing what they'll never own. Poetic. Tom's lawyer mind kicked in, his voice steady. That was our ace. It proves you were of sound mind, undermining their fake incompetence claim. But we wait. Let them commit to the sale sign contracts, take deposits, then we drop the hammer. I felt a surge of hope, like the Halifax tide lifting a ship. How do we reach Catherine? I asked. Eleanor handed me the card. I'll call her tomorrow. She's 5 kilometers away, downtown Halifax. She'll meet us. George cracked his knuckles. I'll keep digging their system. More emails, more proof. Tom nodded. Bill, keep your eyes on Lucas. He's on to you after that courtyard stunt. Stay sharp. That night, Harbour View felt like a battlefield at dusk, the linoleum halls dark and heavy with secrets. I lay in room 112. Margaret's scratched photo on my nightstand, her strength urging me on. My knee ached from the attack, but my resolve was iron. At 10 p.m., I slipped 15 meters to the common room, checking for Lucas's spies. His office light glowed, and I heard his voice, sharp and low. The McDonald deal's moving fast, but he's a problem. Keep an eye on him. My pulse spiked. They were closing in, but so were we. Back in my room, I clutched my phone, the recording a weapon in my hand. Emily's voice haunted me, her cold talk of Nathan's $80,000 CAD debts, my home just a pawn in their game. I whispered to Margaret's photo. They'll pay, love, for you, for me, for all of us. The next morning, Eleanor made the call from the Institute's payphone, 20 meters from the staff desk. Catherine's in, she said, her voice alive with purpose. She'll meet us in 2 days at her office, 200 meters from the Halifax courthouse. Bring everything recording, data, your will. George handed me a USB drive. More emails from Lucas. He's been skimming $5,000 CAD per sale for years. Tom's eyes gleamed. This is bigger than your house, Bill. We're taking down a syndicate. 62 families will get justice. I gripped my broken cane, the pain in my hand a reminder of their desperation. Emily and Nathan thought they'd outsmarted a tired old veteran. Lucas thought he could scare me. But with Eleanor's fire, George's tech, Tom's strategy, and Catherine's law on our side, we were an army. The Halifax wind rattled my window, cheering our fight. This wasn't just my war, it was for every veteran they'd robbed. The Halifax courthouse loomed like a fortress of justice, its stone walls echoing the weight of my fight. I, William MacDonald, 72 years old, walked into the Supreme Court of Nova Scotia, my broken cane a testament to Lucas Bennett's failed attempt to silence me. Margaret's memory, her photo tucked in my heart, steadied my steps. Beside me stood Eleanor Campbell, George Tremblay, and Thomas Reed, my comrades in this war against betrayal. Catherine LeBlanc, our Halifax lawyer, led us, her briefcase packed with our evidence. My recording, George's hacked data, Eleanor's notes, and my will. The courtroom buzzed, the air thick with anticipation. Emily Fraser and Nathan Fraser sat at the defendant's table, their faces pale. Lucas Bennett, in a cheap suit, fidgeted beside them. I locked eyes with Emily, my daughter, who traded 40 years of my sacrifice for Nathan's $80,000 CAD debts. Her gaze dropped, shame flickering. Catherine stood, her voice clear as a Halifax bell. Your Honor, we present evidence of fraud, elder abuse, and conspiracy against 62 Canadian veterans, orchestrated by Lucas Bennett, Emily Fraser, and Nathan Fraser. The judge, a stern woman with gray hair, nodded. Catherine played my recording, Emily's voice filling the room. Nathan's debts are piling up $80,000 CAD. We need this fast. Lucas's oily reply followed. My cut's 15% plus $3,000 CAD to rush the medical report. Doctor. Fraser never saw him. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Emily's hands shook. Nathan's jaw tightened, and Lucas's face drained of color. Catherine held up George's USB drive. This contains proof of a $10 million CAD scheme targeting veterans' homes across Nova Scotia, including Mr. MacDonald's Dartmouth property, listed fraudulently for $400,000 CAD. Eleanor took the stand, her ex-nurse voice unwavering. I tracked family visits. 62 residents, including myself, were abandoned after assets were sold. Lucas facilitated every deal. George followed, his engineer's precision cutting through. I hacked their system. Emails show Lucas pocketed $5,000 CAD per sale, working with a Halifax real estate firm. Tom Reed, the old lawyer, added weight. These are not isolated acts. This is systematic theft, preying on veterans. Lucas crumbled under cross-examination, his voice barely a whisper. I took $5,000 CAD per deal to push papers. Emily and Nathan paid me to declare Bill incompetent. Emily sobbed. It wasn't like that. We needed the money. Nathan lunged forward, snarling. You're a selfish old man, Bill. That house was ours. The judge's gavel slammed, silencing him. Order, she barked. I stood, my Navy heart steady despite the pain. 40 years I worked 16-hour days at Halifax shipyards, sold my father's Navy watch for Emily's Dalhousie degree. She repaid me with betrayal. My voice broke, but I pushed on. They stole my home, where Margaret and I raised her, where her roses still bloom. Emily's cries echoed, but I felt no pity, only justice's cold resolve. Catherine approached the bench, her tone commanding. One final piece, Your Honor. Mr. MacDonald's will, signed last year, leaves his entire estate home, savings to the Canadian Legion. Emily Fraser is explicitly excluded. The courtroom froze. Emily's sob became a wail, like a wave crashing on Halifax's shore. Nathan roared, You cut her out, you vindictive bastard! The judge's gavel struck again. Enough! Catherine laid out the will, notarized and ironclad. This proves Mr. MacDonald's sound mind, nullifying their false incompetence claim. Every crime was for a house they'd never inherit. The judge's eyes narrowed, scanning the evidence. This court finds overwhelming proof of conspiracy, fraud, and elder abuse, she declared. Lucas Bennett, Emily Fraser, and Nathan Fraser are guilty. Sentences will range from 2 to 5 years. Arrest warrants issued. Handcuffs clicked, sharp as gunfire. Emily collapsed, tears streaming, as Nathan shouted, "This isn't over, Bill." But it was. Lucas hung his head, his scheme shattered. Bailiffs led them away, their footsteps fading like a retreating storm. I stood tall, my allies beside me. Eleanor gripped my arm, her eyes fierce. "We did it, Bill." George nodded, his voice gruff. "For all 62 of us." Tom smiled, the old lawyer satisfied. "Justice, folks." Catherine closed her briefcase, her voice calm. "This case will spark a review of all 62 families, Bill. You've changed lives." The Halifax courthouse gleamed in the sunlight, its walls no longer a fortress but a beacon. Margaret's memory wrapped around me, her roses blooming in my mind. Emily had chosen greed over love, but I'd chosen justice. The Canadian Legion would carry my legacy, not her betrayal. This old veteran had won, and the fight felt sweeter than any victory in Bosnia. I, William MacDonald, stood in my Dartmouth home, the Halifax Bay shimmering under a golden sunset. At 72, I'd fought and won, not just for me, but for 62 veterans robbed by greed. The cedar walls of my house welcomed me back, Margaret's rose garden blooming as if she'd never left. Emily Fraser, my daughter, chose Nathan's debts over me, but their handcuffs at the Halifax courthouse set me free. I'd lost her, but found a new family, Eleanor Campbell, George Tremblay, and Thomas Reed. That evening, my kitchen glowed with the warmth of cod casserole, Margaret's recipe, and maple pecan pie, a Nova Scotia staple. Eleanor, the fierce ex-nurse, raised her glass. "To justice, Bill." George, the gruff engineer, grinned. "And to sticking it to those vultures." Tom, the old lawyer, nodded. "You gave us all a second chance, Bill." We laughed, the sound filling the house where Emily once played, now a haven for my chosen kin. Margaret's scratched photo sat on the mantel, her smile brighter than ever. I'd carried her memory through betrayal, from the sterile halls of Harbour View to the Supreme Court of Nova Scotia. Lucas Bennett's scheme, profiting $10 million CAD off veterans, was crumbling, with 62 families now seeking justice. My will, leaving everything to the Canadian Legion, ensured Emily's greed gained her nothing. But this fight taught me more than victory. First, protect yourself, write a will, choose trusted allies, never let greed blind you. Second, community is your strength. My Navy days taught me comrades stand together, and Eleanor, George, and Tom proved it. Third, never surrender. At 72, I fought like I did in Bosnia, proving age is no barrier to justice. These lessons aren't just mine, they're for every Canadian veteran, every family facing betrayal. As the Halifax wind whispered through my garden, I felt peace, like the calm after a storm. Margaret would have loved this night, her roses dancing under the stars. Emily made her choice, but I made mine, choosing justice, choosing family forged in fire. If my story moves you, join me. Like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Maple Revenge. Let's stand together, honoring veterans and fighting for what's right, one story at a time.